welcome. I am super pleased to meet you all and to be here to co-host with Bridget the Rainforest Lunch Without Lunch. I'll give a quick introduction of who I am and how I ended up, co-hosting. My name is James Kiershead. I am the president and founder of a company called LWOL Electronics. We design and manufacture wireless control systems, a bunch of other different types of electronics, but our focus is on making intelligent buildings available to everyone by reducing the cost to build, purchase, and operate residential new construction through the use of our smart controls. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur. My previous company that I founded, many of you may have heard of, it was a company called, well, you wouldn't have heard of our company, but you'd have heard of our brand. Our company was Blue Falls Manufacturing, the makers of Arctic Spas. So we took that company to 30 different countries, and it was started right here in Edmonton, and has grown up in a small little farming community just outside of Edmonton called Thorsby, Alberta. So it's a great story of adding great jobs and using innovation inside a very standard manufacturing business to be a competitive leader in that industry. So that's kind of me. I'll just go through the rainforest etiquette, a little bit about what rainforest is about. So a few things on Zoom. Raise your hand or ask to speak using the chat, say comment or question as opposed to speaking. Please stay muted until it's your turn to speak and try not to interrupt presentations because again, time is very tight here and we don't want to interrupt the flow and keep us on time. And then chat resources will be captured and posted in the lunch notes in the Slack channel. And I'll do my best to, while Bridget is leading the panel, I'll do my best to keep an eye on what's going on in the chat, okay? So rainforest itself, I guess that's the other part. I've been leading the Rainforest Initiative here in Edmonton since the inception in Edmonton, we started slightly after you guys in Calgary. We started in 2017, you guys started back in 2016. So I've been championing it here in Edmonton for quite a long time. And why is it a big deal to me? Well, rainforest is really an analogy. It's unlike farms where all the factors are understood, controlled, and optimized for particular outcomes. These command and control structures are designed for delivering controlled outcomes and maximizing expected results. However, farms do not lend themselves to innovation or new ideas. Innovation is, at its very core, about taking risks and exploring new concepts that are previously untried or unknown. Farms, on the other hand, are risk adverse and risk minimization engines. Rainforests are wild, untamed spaces where new ideas can sprout. And if they are well adapted to their environment, even thrive. And that's why diversity and inclusion is so important inside our ecosystem. Our vision here for Rainforest of Alberta is to have a world-class community of dreamers and doers connected by a common goal of making Alberta fertile ground for building, developing, and growing innovative ideas into sustainable ventures. Our mission is connect the innovation ecosystem by strengthening the movement behind the Alberta tech industry around a framework of shared values of collaboration, community, and trust through storytelling. And we do this through, we codify this through the Rainforest Social Contract. It was developed at the first Rainforest Summit. It is a code of conduct for which all of us in the community should aspire to function with each other as. If we do that, trust will grow. As trust grows, innovation accelerates. When people are asked to sign it, if you sign it, you're signing as an individual. This is your commitment to the community, not your company's per se. And finally, when we're looking at building an innovation ecosystem, there are really 6 pillars that we need to engage with to try and grow the innovation ecosystem: culture, leaders, resources, engaged activities, policy and infrastructure, and role models. At the Rainforest, we spend about most of the time working on culture and leaders. And as you can see, that accounts for 50% of what helps build and accelerate an innovation ecosystem. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and turn things over to Bridget to introduce our first panel. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much, James. Welcome everybody to the second Lunch Without Lunch of the year. We have some founders today here to share their story, and then Rainforest had been running, Courtney had been spearing up a program called the Libby program, Leaders, Innovators, and Big Ideas. And so we had 9 participants run through that program just at the end of last year, and we have 1 participant here today. There could be another joining us, and they're going to share their experience with that program as well. So we'll get right into things. We have Brett and Tom here from Goodlawyer. We are really happy to have you guys here today. As you know, I'm a really big fan. I've worked with small businesses for many years, and when Goodlawyer came on the scene, there was finally a solution for many of those small businesses to have access to legal advice that was actually affordable and very accessible when they needed it. So I'm a huge fan, but I'm also a proponent of what you guys do, because you are such great examples of what the Rainforest stands for and all the values that James just went through. You guys really understand the culture of giving back and building trust and paying it forward. And so we're really happy to highlight you today. Of one highlight in particular, Goodlawyer is the Alumni Choice winner of Launch Party, which is Calgary's biggest innovation event, was held last November virtually, which was actually a smashing success for such a large virtual event. It was great. And you guys might have new awards or things to share today. I don't know, but I'll give a quick introduction of Brett and Tom. So Brett is co-founder and CEO, and before Goodlawyer, he was working at Canada's largest law firm as a corporate lawyer and experienced firsthand that most people can't afford the legal help they need. They noticed that these individuals didn't qualify for legal aid, but the typical firm rates were also out of reach. Ultimately, he didn't feel like a good lawyer. So tired of being part of that broken system, Brett teamed up with a developer and a designer, quit the big firm, and got to work on Goodlawyer. So enter Tom. Tom is co-founder and CPO. Tom worked as an engineer for 3 years, but felt unsettled in his work and realized that he needed to do something more personally fulfilling. Tom left the engineering field to pursue a greater purpose, where he teamed up with Brett and their CTO, Parker Smith, to create Goodlawyer. So that's that in a nutshell. I'll hand it over to you folks to share with us today about your journey, and in particular how the community played a part in that, in supporting your growth.
Thank you for the intro. It's good to be here. We love Rainforest. You guys are an awesome community. So always nice to be here on the Lunch Without Lunch and be able to spread the Goodlawyer word a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be on sort of the presenting side of it today. We've been to many, and always super educational, inspiring, and you get to meet tons of folks that are interested in the same stuff as you, which can be hard for startup nerds like ourselves. So thank you so much for having us today. Really excited just to share a little bit about the Goodlawyer story, where it came from, where we're going, and would love it. We love questions. So if you have any questions while we're going through it, please chime in. I always work better off questions than presenting. So my name is Brett. I co-founded Goodlawyer with Tom over 2 years ago now. And we've had our ups and downs. I remember the days when Tom just started helping out while he was still in school, designing our logo. We were working exclusively out of my apartment. I was still working full time. And really the problem that we're trying to solve is just the access to affordable and professional legal help. For all the entrepreneurs on the call today, I can almost guarantee you've had some legal questions on your journey, and almost certainly some legal questions that have gone unanswered on your journey because the threshold to actually engage a lawyer and, you know, pay the billable rates and all that was just too great and a little too scary. So what we found was, you know, people generally, and then we've really narrowed our focus onto entrepreneurs because that's where our fit is best. People, 77% of legal needs go unmet. That's the stat I always like to pull from the Clio reports. And that's an insane number. And, you know, as a professional in that space, as, you know, really the only people pursuant to the regulated monopoly allowed to provide real legal advice and get paid for it, that was a number that just didn't sit well with me. And I felt like as a profession, we were doing, you know, excuse my language, a piss poor job of, you know, upholding sort of our duty to society more generally, which is providing affordable, accessible legal help. You know, we've tried to take care of it with legal aid, but that's like way below the poverty line. And we've tried to help it out with a little bit of pro bono, but it just doesn't move the dial enough. And frankly, most people couldn't afford a lawyer. So recognizing that I wasn't going to be able to change that dynamic from inside, especially at the big firm, it's a bit of a beast. You know, it looks much more like a multinational enterprise than what you think of when you think of a classic law firm. And so it was, you know, incumbent on me to leave and really pursue this idea that I had and try to solve this massive problem that I saw. So that's really where Goodlawyer came from. As I said, you know, in the last year especially, we've gone through lots of trials and tribulations, as I'm sure many of you have, responding to COVID, losing a co-founder, to really seeing some pretty unbelievable growth. And, you know, for a guy that's been doing the startup thing first in the shadows and now very publicly, as you can see today, it's been a very exciting and rewarding journey, but it's been a lot of hard work and some dark days. And, you know, I got guys like Tom, I see Grant's on the call today, just an amazing team that, you know, supports each other. And I think that the community, you know, like sessions like today and what the Rainforest is trying to do and what Startup Calgary and Platform are trying to do is just an extension of that. And, you know, I don't think we would be where we are at without the help of organizations like the Rainforest in getting our word out there, in helping us find beta testers, you know, in the early days. And so I really would implore everyone on the call to really max out the community resources in every way that you can. And certainly from our experience, giving back to that community also pays dividends, both from, you know, your reputation as a company perspective, frankly, from just our user base. You know, giving back increases the user base, and really solidifies you in the minds of those early users. And, you know, if anyone's read Crossing the Chasm, you need those super fans in the early days if you're going to get that flywheel spinning. And, you know, ours is spinning slowly, but it's been exciting to see it start to pay dividends. And a big part of that is the community. Tommy, you want to chime in there, bud?
You were pretty thorough. You covered a lot of it. Yeah, I think I would just kind of reiterate that there's definitely a feeling in the community of everyone wanting everyone else to succeed. I've definitely, you know, I'm pretty new to the startup world myself. Goodlawyer is my foray into startups. And I think pretty much from day one, I've always just been super impressed at how willing everyone is to help, and how you can, you know, ask a co-founder of another company for a quick chat and they'll end up talking to you for 2 hours, just giving you advice and with no ask in return. And yeah, I think that's just one of the best parts about the startup community here in Alberta, is just that everyone kind of wants the tide to lift all the boats. So big thanks.
Well, and just on that too, to jump on that, you know, I think it's probably the most exciting time to be a startup in Alberta ever. You know, I think there's finally a recognition, and I'm not sure if Biden's going to sign the executive order today or not, but there's a recognition that, you know, our future as a province isn't going to be solely dictated by natural resources. And starting to see that passion, both at the investor level, the institution level, just the community level, is super exciting. So, you know, when we started Goodlawyer, I assumed we were going to be leaving Alberta at some point, and I cannot say that anymore. And, you know, most of the team, we've got folks out in BC and Ontario, but most of the team's, you know, born and bred from Calgary. And, you know, it would be amazing to keep the company here. And, you know, we're starting to see glimmers that that's like a very feasible thing to do. So that's super exciting. Just before maybe Tommy, we can flip on the slides as a little bit of direction for us. But to answer Vaughn's question about lawyer jokes, I do have one. I also have an accounting degree. I almost went that route. And what's the difference between a lawyer and an accountant? The accountant knows they're boring.
All right.
Tom, you got the slides?
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is our partnership deck. It's sort of just our stock one, and it desperately needs updating, but provide me and Tom with a bit of direction. And you know, for any of you folks that aren't familiar with Goodlawyer, we can explain a bit more about what we're up to.
So like Brett kind of explained briefly, we are a startup. We're all about helping entrepreneurs, startups, small businesses get legal help, but there's a very clear distinction that we are not a law firm. So all the lawyers in our network are independent small firm lawyers all over Canada. So we don't actually employ them. It's like a two-sided marketplace where we feed the lawyers customers.
And you know, much in a similar fashion to the Rainforest, we're building a community on the back end for these lawyers, and starting to build a community of what we call Goodlawyer Pros, who are our subscription users. But you know, trying to take learnings from the Rainforest about ways to keep, you know, our two communities right now are also living on Slack, and trying to figure out ways to engage those communities and you know, support the people in those communities to help each other. And our lawyer one has certainly been more active to date, and we're seeing it all the time. You have these independent lawyers from across the country sharing precedents, sharing learnings, passing clients off if it's not in their wheelhouse. So it's been pretty exciting to see just what you can do with a community when people are really engaged.
Yeah, and I think the community also for these small firm and solo lawyers is super critical. When you're at a big firm and there's, you know, 100 lawyers working at the firm, there's a lot of different expertise that gets covered, and it's really easy to keep clients within the firm and kind of pass them off and get questions. And that's really a luxury that the small firm solo lawyers don't have. And by introducing this community to them on Goodlawyer, it's kind of that dynamic of a big firm where they can ask other lawyers questions, where they can pass clients off, where they can get precedents from other lawyers. So yeah, we've learned a lot from the Rainforest in terms of community stuff, and we've been putting some of those learnings to work with our lawyer community, and it's been going really well. So
yeah, and you know, just this is a new tagline, Tom, so maybe you should write this one down. But we're really trying to provide entrepreneurs with, you know, big firm power, small firm prices, because that's what we do. We connect you with experts in a variety of areas, in a variety of industries, and so you're not relying on the solo generalist in town, and you're not forced to go to the, you know, big corporate law firm downtown and pay my old rates, which were, you know, $4.50 an hour. And so trying to create this middle ground through technology where you can get that expertise that you need, but we are so good at filling capacity and making it so easy for these lawyers with super low overhead that they can make good money on vastly reduced prices as compared to a traditional firm. So Pete, to answer your question about, are we a threat to legal firms? Yes, I mean, absolutely. We're focused on lawyers. And I think that the traditional law firm model has gotten completely out of whack. Again, it's organized, especially the big shops, more as like an enterprise corporation, but still based on these partnership rules that just convolute and reduce innovation within those environments. But that being said, I'm worried more about the 77% of unmet legal needs than trying to siphon off, you know, some of that work that's already being done by legal firms. We are already doing that. People are moving over from traditional law firms and starting to use Goodlawyer, including some, you know, larger businesses. But really the MO from day one has been, how do we reduce that 77% of unmet legal needs? Because from a business perspective, it's blue ocean opportunity. And then more from a purpose perspective, it's solving this huge problem in society that no one's really taken a look at for a really long time.
It's a good segue here. So yeah, like Brett mentioned earlier, 77% of legal needs go unmet. This is a pretty massive problem, considering that, you know, the law really is a big piece of the fabric of our society. And when 77% of people can't even afford to talk to a lawyer to understand the laws that they're supposed to be running their business by and abiding by, that's a huge problem. There's a lot of people who run into legal problems and legal situations that are much worse than they could have been if they had been dealt with properly in the first place. So yeah, I think we've talked
Bridget,
about
just one note. I just got a text about someone. I think they're trying to get into the presentation if there's a waiting room or something.
I'll check it out. And I don't know if you guys are advancing slides. I'm only seeing the first slide.
I was just trying to text that to Tom as well.
Oh, gotcha. Okay,
interesting.
I'll head over to slide.
The joys of Zoom.
Can you see the second slide now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll just keep it minimized. All right.
So maybe just pop back one, Tom.
Yep.
And again, sorry for the disjointed nature of the presentation. And again, we love questions. So this is the big problem that I've been harping on. This is what we're trying to solve. And it's not just that they're expensive in the money sense. They're expensive in terms of trying to get access to them. It's intimidating. It's just I've watched family members deal with lawyers. And again, I've had the other perspective of being the lawyer, and there's just always this tension around the bill and some other things that we're really trying to blow away, because I truly believe lawyers can add huge value to businesses. And to ignore your legal stuff out the gate as a business owner, especially if you're a startup looking for any sort of investment or something like that down the road, is a huge mistake. So I see this huge value in accessing lawyers, and that's why, the businesses with more money to spend all use lawyers extensively, but trying to reduce that barrier and make it a little friendlier and a little less scary, coupled with obviously a little more accessible from a pricing perspective. Next slide, Tommy.
Yeah.
There's a question from Mark in here. Do you have much experience with patent law in Canada?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got some patent experts in BC and Ontario, but patents are federal. So yeah, we've got some great folks that can definitely assist with patents. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, I think we have fixed fee pricing for patents now as well.
Yeah, we do. We have fixed fee pricing for patent searches in the US, as well as international patent searches and provisional patents as well. So yeah.
And those are the fixed fee prices that we advertise. We're able to help with any aspect relating to a patent and almost any other aspect relating to an entrepreneur's business right now across Canada.
Yeah, and I just want to note too, our patent experts that are on the platform are patent experts internationally and in the US. They're not just experts on Canadian patent law. So yeah, they're a great resource if you have any questions about patents in Canada.
Well, and that's the nice thing too, because like with these lawyers, the process is basically, instead of you as the entrepreneur, asking your friends or asking your network or, sleuthing through Google as much as possible to try to find somebody and then making a bunch of phone calls. We do that. I do that. And, I'm the one vetting them, as opposed to, the entrepreneur who hasn't dealt with a lawyer before, coupled with the fact that then Goodlawyer acts as effectively the broker. So I'm not only finding the lawyer, or we're not only finding the lawyers, we're grinding them on prices. And that's a hurdle we always have to overcome when we implement a new fixed fee price, is grinding the lawyers down to a place that is fair, where they're still happy to do really high quality work, but they're not, getting that extra benefit, which is really where this chart comes into play. And the 77% is where I saw the problem. This chart is where we saw the opportunity, because this is how solo and small firm lawyers, these are US numbers, but they can be extrapolated to Canada pretty closely, spend most of their time. So you have all of these lawyers spending 2/3, 3/4 of their week looking for new clients, trying to market, just running their business, and then making all of their money off of 1 or 2 days a week where they bill out at, even at the small firms, often $300 an hour. So they're just trying to capitalize so much on a very small subset of their time, working with the clients who they got over the line, as opposed to reducing prices and turning that green portion of this chart, flipping those. So they're spending 20% of their time doing admin marketing and 75, 80% of their time being lawyers. So that's really where the solution came, is let's let lawyers be lawyers more. And by doing so, they're going to be able to help more people at lower prices.
Interesting. Halette has a question here. Is Goodlawyer geared more towards ad hoc time-bound requests rather than ongoing needs?
No, absolutely not. I would say we're really good at the one-offs. You can book a lawyer 2 hours into the future and get an answer today to a question, but we're also good at facilitating that trusted advisor relationship. And so after you book a lawyer on the platform, you maintain full discretion as to who you want to use next, but the lawyers that you have used in the past will show up really prominently. So we're encouraging you to go back to the lawyer that you trust, that knows your business, while also providing you again with that sort of big firm depth in terms of getting an expert in a place where your go-to lawyer might be less familiar.
And she has a follow-up question. For ongoing needs, have you noticed migration of lawyers off your platform once they've formed a relationship with a client?
Yeah, so with any sort of two-sided marketplace, the concept we're talking about there, is colloquially known as leakage. So leakage is always going to be a concern, but we feel pretty great actually about where we're at in that regard. As I said, we're super selective with the lawyers that we bring on the platform, and we only are adding them incrementally as the need dictates. So we don't have, I'd rather send 10 jobs to one lawyer than one job to 10 lawyers, is sort of how I like to explain it. And because of that, these lawyers are super loyal to the platform because we are generating them so many opportunities and so many new clients and so much more revenue that, they're not getting elsewhere. They're not spending that 70% trying to find their own clients and deal with the admin stuff that we take care of. So leakage is always going to be a concern, but so far we've been doing a pretty good job, and we've even started to see some of the lawyers redirecting their own websites back to their Goodlawyer profiles, just because we take care of a bunch of the nitty-gritty stuff that doesn't add value, like signing a retainer, scheduling, client identification, those types of things that are just mandatory to take $1 from a client. We take care of those, and so that's how we're trying to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say as well, is that we're starting to see even lawyers who are finding clients off of the platform bring them onto the platform, because we do just save them so much time on the administrative side of things. So it's kind of the opposite of a leakage problem it's turning into. And then also just going back to having that kind of ongoing legal advice. We really started based on the kind of like one-off situations, like one-off advice sessions, one-off fixed fee services. And that's why we introduced this Goodlawyer Pro subscription back in November, because we were starting to see a lot of people coming back wanting to book with the same lawyers they had before. And the Pro subscription is really what that's for. It's kind of just as much ongoing legal advice as you need. You pay a flat monthly fee, and you can have those ongoing trusted relationships with a legal advisor. So we really do cater to both sides of that equation. We do the one-off stuff, and we also definitely help people who are looking for that more long-term legal relationship.
Lots of questions, but I'll let you go to your next slide. Try to keep things moving along.
Yeah, the slides, they're kind of loose. We don't have to follow the slides to a T. I think we're kind of covering everything. It's helping us go along a little bit, but I think questions, we're happy to take any questions. So
there's some other questions. Would this collective of lawyers become a voice for a class action lawsuit, for example, or some other collective action?
Not right now. Our focus, again, the majority of legal needs of entrepreneurs relate more to the solicitor side. So that's definitely where our strength lies, drafting agreements, negotiating, that kind of thing. We do provide commercial litigation services for business owners that need some litigation help, but we're not set up right now to do sort of any collective action or massive sort of litigation file. To me, that would likely fall into an arm that I have envisioned for the future, which is a bit more focused on, more like a Goodlawyer sort of pro bono arm, where we just take on things that we're passionate about, and we have a bit of resources behind us and some lawyers willing to do it. But that's something that we'll have to explore a little down the road.
Okay, Tom has two questions here. Where do you source your lawyers from? This is first.
Okay. Is there a second part to that question?
It's actually a different question entirely. Okay. So I'll let you answer that one, then I'll come back to this.
So originally, like 2 years ago, I would just be networking with lawyers that I knew through my own experience. And again, our focus being on these smaller and solo lawyers who frankly are a little harder to find. From there, we started to build a base, and then we started to receive a ton of inbound referrals. So a lot of lawyers, again, looking to grow their practice. It's the number one pain point for most lawyers, especially in those smaller settings, is trying to build their book of business. So when they heard that there's this easy way to do it, we started to receive a ton of inbound. And now that our network has grown to a pretty large degree, the majority of new lawyers come from a relationship they have with one of the existing lawyers on the platform. So again, referrals from existing lawyers and bringing those folks in. And to the extent we have a gap that isn't filled through referral, LinkedIn is the number one place that we source lawyers.
Interesting. Tom's other question was, how do you differentiate yourselves from Axiom and Caramel?
With the technology, I would say first and foremost. And then second to that would be with our pricing model. As far as I'm aware, Axiom and Caravelle don't dictate the prices, certainly not in the transparent way that we do for a ton of the basic services. Like I think our fixed fee list is up to 30 services now. So I'd say the main difference is our focus is on solving, early stage to mid stage sort of entrepreneurs on their journey. And that necessitates lower prices that you just haven't seen in the market before, and prices that you're never going to see at Caravelle or Axiom.
Okay. Bridget, how are we on time?
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. Let's maybe try to wrap up here in the next 2 minutes, and then we'll move on with the show.
Sure. Maybe flip a couple slides then, Tommy.
Yeah, I don't think we've got too much more. We kind of talked about how we are trying to build a community, pulling some pages out of Rainforest's book, and yeah, as far as you guys know, we've got a code that we share with Rainforest where you guys can get some free or discounted advice sessions. So we'll just share that again with you in the chat here in a minute, and that's really the end of our slides. So, and
yeah, the last thing I'll just mention on just this slide is the webinars. We do almost a webinar a week, and they're really good. So if you haven't been to one of our webinars, please come check them out. Really educational, pretty light, and totally free.
Yeah.
I just want to ask you one more question around building your team in the early days and into now. What that looked like for you. We get a lot of Rainforesters coming, looking for co-founders, looking for a founding team, and we're looking to maybe pivot Power Hour into an event where we can do more of that. But could you talk about your experience?
Totally. So Goodlawyer started with me and a guy who's much less on the team now. He went back to private practice, and we started working on it just as two buddies who worked in the same big corporate law firm and were a bit jaded by it. And that's where it started. And then we added Parker and Tom very soon thereafter, because we realized we had no idea what we're doing in terms of building a product or a brand or any of that kind of stuff. And then it just evolved from there. And the process with Tom and Parker and pretty much everyone else since has been start small, come on for like a very small engagement, low risk. And I didn't really intend it to be this way, but it was almost like an extended audition. And, we had a lot of the people on the team, frankly, and, a lot of people who advise against this are my friends. And I'm fortunate to have a bunch of really smart friends, good at a bunch of different stuff. But I've also had friends come on and just wasn't working and they left and we're still friends. But really starting with that like small engagement and just building on it from there is how I think we've been so successful in all of the full-time employees that we have, is just starting small and growing the relationship slowly but surely.
That's awesome. Bridget, you're on mute.
And I've done it. Anything to add, Tom?
No, I think Brett nailed it. We really do that kind of small, we give everyone a small bit of a project first, see how it goes, and we reevaluate. So that's kind of how
I mean, Grant being another great example, he came on to do some paid advertising for us and just like off the side of his desk kind of thing. And next thing you know, he's our head of growth.
Yeah, that's
a
great.
year later.
Grant and Katie are both here from Goodlawyer. Perhaps there's others I have.
How many on your team right now?
We're at 13 or 14 now.
Nice. Great story.
Yeah, it's been an amazing year. You know, like this month we're probably on track. Grant, don't quote me on this, but 200x what we did last January. So, you know, that type of growth was something that we dreamt of, but it became a reality last year with a lot of hard work, and just trying to do it again this year.
That's great. I know I said 2 more minutes, but Faith has a question that I think is really in the spirit of our theme for demystifying startups. So I wouldn't mind going there quickly. Can you explain, she says, can you explain your experience during the early stages? Oh, that just closed up on me. When you're validating your business assumptions, how did you engage both users and lawyers to have a chat with you on your idea?
So the lawyer piece was a little bit easier because I knew a bunch of them. And to be honest, when Goodlawyer launched, I was one of the 3 first Uber drivers. I was still practicing. And so we were able to supply our own product because me and my original co-founder were both lawyers. So that helped. But I would also say that we overbuilt the product in the early days because we were sort of building it in the shadows while we were still working at a big firm. And that was a total mistake. And if we could go back in time, I wish I read a book. This is one of Tom's favorite books, The Mom Test. Highly recommend it. It's short, teaches you how to talk to customers. And really, we didn't do nearly enough validation in the early days. We got lucky in the sense that the problem we're tackling is huge and, you know, experienced by a large swath of the population. But the product that we built initially was based on 0 customer feedback and very little validation, apart from our research and that kind of thing. So I would say talk to as many people as you can. Keep track of their answers, so stay organized, something I also fail to do sometimes. And don't build more than you need. Like we could have started Goodlawyer with a spreadsheet, and we didn't. But if we go back in time, or we were going to build something new, it starts with something so simple while you start to test that idea out. And so, for example, we're testing $99 annual returns for our pros, and there's no tech built around it. We've got a partner who can do it at way better rates than anyone else. And we're just trying to sell it. We'll manually make sure those ones work. And if it starts to pick up steam, we'll build product in to make that process more efficient. But we don't build product now unless we know exactly what we're building and why.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to chime in and say too, is you can do discovery until the cows come home, but at some point you just have to launch an MVP, and you're going to learn a lot when you launch your MVP. I can guarantee you that. I think human beings just kind of have a bit of a fallacy on what they're actually going to do. We don't necessarily understand our own behavior. We're going to say things sometimes, and then when we actually get to put things to practice, we'll do something completely different. So collecting discovery and doing discovery is critical, but at some point, like Brett said, you got to test stuff. So even if we had launched just a super basic version of an MVP with a spreadsheet or whatever, we would have definitely accelerated our learning and our discovery. So that's my 2 cents on that.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much, Goodlawyer, for joining us. It was great learning about your startup, about your story and journey. again, we want to leave time for networking. And so I think we'll flip what we usually do here a bit. We're going to check in with Kate, who took part in our Libby program. And then we are going to do announcements, and then we'll head off to networking. So if people want to go, they can, or if they want to get shoved in a breakout room, they can do that too. So as I mentioned at the top of the hour, Courtney ran a program last year called Libby, and it was for anyone with an idea, very, very, very early stage, who wanted to explore that more. And so we had some great partners from the ecosystem come in with resources. Goodlawyer was one of them, another great example of their giving back behavior. They reached out to us and said, hey, we want in on this. So that was awesome. We had 321 Growth Academy offer a couple of workshops. We had nicer credits given out for the platform, which offers mentorship. Am I missing anything, Kate? Oh, Startup Calgary obviously ran their 101 and 201 course with our participants. We had nine participants through the program. So Courtney gave everybody the option in the program to present back to the community and share a little bit about what they learned and where they're at with their idea. So I'll throw it over to you, Kate.
Okay, great, thank you. Yes, so as Bridget mentioned, I was a participant of this Libby Fund program, started last year in November, runs through December, and it was really, really exciting. And I think it gave a really, really nice, solid foundation ground and base for someone who has a new idea and how to move forward. It covers all the main aspects in terms of marketing strategies, your product, consumers, how to reach them, how to build your strategy, and NICER and Goodlawyer credits also covered those bases in terms of some legal advice and legal help. So I'm just gonna briefly explain what my idea was before I would brief on an update. So we offer a solution that allows to solve problem with air ventilation, especially in older buildings, without having to make any changes in building structure or building design or window frame. It's an adjustable window recuperator for slide windows or slide balcony doors for residential apartment buildings, condos, houses, to provide quality air ventilation inflow. So the device solves many problems, especially during the winter time when there is like a difference in the temperature inside, outside. So first of all, stabilizes the temperature, incoming flow and outgoing flow, heat insulation, noise insulation, decreases the chance of pipe ruptures, especially in apartment buildings where you can't leave your window open for long. So during the last session with Growth Academy and with Startup Calgary sessions, we learned a lot about the product, MPV, and marketing strategies. So at this stage, we already have a pretty good idea in terms of who our customers are and how to reach them. So now we are focusing on actually building our first prototype. And for me, this is the most exciting part because it's something that you can do with your hands and it's techy, and yeah, I really like this part. And I have my partner is Alex, so he is on the tech side. So basically now we are working with the makerspace starting this year. We still have to finish some of the certification training sessions. We already did one for 3D printers. There is a few more to go, but it was pretty cool and exciting. We've seen several different types of 3D printers, and we already kind of have a pretty good idea which ones we're gonna use for which parts, because it seems like we're gonna be using different ones for different part of the device. And now what we're doing, actually, we're trying to select a proper software program where we're going to be doing our 3D modeling. So to model the parts of the device. So we are looking into Blender and Autodesk Fusion 360 software, where we will be trying to model some of the parts of the device. And basically now we're looking into those programs to see which one will be best for our product. So we are in this early stage. That's why I said for now I don't have much to present and show because we are still working on it. So yeah, and my biggest takeaway is that, again, I think it's a really great foundation basis, this program Libby found, because it covered all those main aspects for someone who wants to start going with their innovative idea. It could be a software program, or it could be something tangible, like in my case with Makerspace program. So it was very helpful and very exciting to see once we will now move forward with actually building the prototype, how it will turn out, and we're gonna test it out. So yeah, pretty
Awesome.
excited, and thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for sharing, Kate. That's great. It sounds like you're making a lot of progress. I was trying to find the link for the Makerspace because SAIT and Fuse 33 are hosting Makerspace events once a month. If anyone knows that link, they can throw it in the chat. That would be awesome, but it sounds like you're making progress. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we'll do quick announcements. If anybody has announcements to share or asks, we have still over 50 people on the call. So if there's something in particular that you are looking for to help you grow your startup or anything innovation related, please feel free to either raise your hand or throw it in the chat. Silence. Podcast plug, Al? I'm happy to do it, or go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say to everybody, the podcast we've just launched episode 101 with Adam Lidgate, who's also on the call. So I want to put another push out there for hosts. Last year I was very used to having a good 5 or 6 shows in the queue, and now I'm kind of waiting for someone to launch something or doing it myself to try and make sure that we have a show every Tuesday. So if you want to host some episodes, come on, it's a lot of fun. I think it's more just a time-based thing. People are very busy, so the more hosts we have, the more likely we'll have shows each week. Sorry, I'm just choking on myself, but yeah, reach out if you like. I'll put something in the chat for getting a hold of me.
Thanks, Al. Anybody else want to put anything out there? Please don't be shy. I see someone unmuting. There's Mike. Mike, that looks like Ben to me.
Oh, does it say that I'm Mike?
It says Mike, yeah.
Oh, interesting. No, I'm definitely Ben.
I was like, I know that face.
it was only a couple days ago we last spoke. Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Mike Rowe, for taking your link, apparently. Yeah, so I just wanted to, so my name's Ben. For those of you who haven't met me, I am one of the founders of the YYC Data Society, which we created a not-for-profit organization to act as kind of the banner for all of the data science and data engineering analytics communities to rally underneath. And our flagship event is the inaugural YYC DataCon. So we created a conference that, celebrates the advancements of AI and data science in specifically Alberta companies in the Alberta space. So I posted the link to that in the chat. We are currently, we've got 25 speakers with content for all areas of interest, whether or not you are building deep learning models yourself, or if you don't know what AI is and you're just looking to learn about what it is and what it can do. We've got a bit of something for everyone. So you guys can check out the link that I posted in the chat. Tickets are by donation. If you want a free ticket because you can't, if you're in hardship or something, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I can give free tickets to anyone who wants them. And yeah, so hope to see some of your faces at the event. It's in March 12th and 13th, so about 50 days away.
Awesome. Thanks for coming, Ben, and sharing that. And last call, you can throw it in the chat too, and if you do that, it will be captured and thrown in the Slack channel lunch notes. But I had promised at the beginning of the year that we would always leave time for networking, because that is the feedback we have received, that everybody wants the networking aspect. So we have 9 minutes left. I'll throw people into breakout rooms right now, and I will bring everybody back at the top of the hour and then leave the room open, because we usually have a small group that likes to hang on and get to know more people, but it's small enough that we can just bring everybody back to the main room. So I will throw you all into breakout rooms now.
And hey, Bridget, maybe I'll just
Yeah,
ask
sorry,
one, just
yeah.
like sort of, if anyone has experience with this, I'd love to hear from you. We're looking at raising our first, venture or, proper angel round that isn't through our networks. And so if there's anyone with experience going through that process, I'd love to talk to you. So that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Brett. Okay, kicking you all out. See you at the top of the hour, or else have a great week and see you soon.